Hi, my name is Laurel Thomas, and I'm going to talk about why rescuing a dog is always better than buying one from a breeder. Basically, growing up, I was constantly around dogs. My very first dog was my family's mixed Labrador retriever named Porter. My mom saved Porter when she was in college herself when she saw him abandoned and tied up to a tree. Once it was obvious nobody was coming back for him, she took him home herself. Although I was very young when Porter was around, I have the absolute best memories of us together. Whether we were on the boat, an island, or just playing in the yard, we were always having a blast. He was my very best companion and the best protector a girl could ask for. I recall one instance when we were playing in the driveway and the mailman wanted to be kind and hand me the mail instead of us go and get it out the mailbox. And Porter would not let him get too close to me. He kept pushing him back with his nose, getting kind of aggressive with him. And basically my point is rescued dogs love their owners differently, and I felt that with my first rescue. What I'm here to try and convince you today is that the next time you're looking for a dog to adopt, not shop, to look for a dog to love instead of a dog to show off for its name brand. I know one too many people who wanted an expensive pit bull but then couldn't handle its biting, or wanted a German Shepherd and couldn't handle the exercise they need. And this is how large breed animals who are unlikely to be adopted end up in shelters. And the longer that they're in there, the more their mental health deteriorates and the less likely they are to be rescued. This goes the same for small breed dogs, although they're easier to handle, so they're more likely to get adopted. And they're rarely taken back to the shelter twice. Nonetheless, it's wrong to emotionally abuse these animals the way that too many people do when you buy a dog out of the blue and you can only care for it for a few weeks. What I want to outline for you today is how many dogs are put into shelters each year and why. I'll explain how many dogs are euthanized due to factors such as overcrowding, aggression, sickness, or just lack of supplies. And I'll emphasize how this has drastically increased over time. Finally, I'm going to discuss what causes excess amounts of dogs in shelters and offer solutions to decrease this. According to Last Chance Ranch Sanctuary, the first animal welfare organization in the United States was the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, and it was founded in 1866 and only focused on the mistreatment of horses. Nobody would come to focus on the treatment of animals in shelters until around 1874, and even then they only concerned themselves with the euthanasia of the animals that were not reclaimed or adopted. More modern animal shelter treatment consists mostly of prevention as opposed to rehabilitation. For example, when I rescued my Chihuahua puppy at 4 months old, she was already spayed but was not up to date on any of her vaccinations, and she was just dirty. And to this day, there are no federal regulations to oversee animals in shelters, and so it makes guidelines that they have to follow blurry. The exact number of dogs in shelters is difficult to get exact, so due to the lack of guidelines, the precise number of dogs taken in, euthanized, adopted, or reclaimed is non-existent. Shelters are aware of the importance of record keeping, but due to there being no national reporting system that they can all abide by, it's basically impossible to get exact. Shelters are aware of the importance, and it's not their fault, but there is definitely a need for more federal regulations because a lot of people don't abide by anything really. The American Humane estimated that 3.7 million animals were euthanized in 2008, and over 56% of that were dogs. This is over 1 million more than the number of euthanizations that happened a decade prior. And so I guess it poses the question, why do people surrender their dog to shelters? Most research finds that it is most commonly linked to a financial problem or aging of the pet's owner. People give up their pets when they start having children, they surrender their pets when they relocate, or just a variety of reasons. A less common reason is when a dog bites someone. Animal control has to file a report. They investigate the incident, check to see if your dog is up to date on vaccinations, and they focus primarily on what medical attention was needed and the severity of the bite. There's a one bite rule, that's heavily enforced. If your dog bites someone a second time, you can be sued for negligence, and your dog will most likely be declared dangerous and then euthanized by animal control. The impulsive buying of dogs from puppy mills and breeders is what has shot the number of dogs in shelters through the roof. Government website Our Cause for Paws states that there are at least 10,000 puppy mills currently operating in the United States, and they're breeding more than 10 million puppies per year. That doesn't really make sense to me because, on the other hand, it's estimated that over 1 million dogs are euthanized in shelters every year. So why are they breeding 2 million? We are choosing to breed more animals than we're willing to provide for. We're breeding a majority of these innocent puppies just to send them to their death. Animals have about 72 hours to be rescued before the shelter, quote, destroys them, and about 4,100 dogs and cats are killed in a shelter every single day. Female dogs are used for breeding, and once they're too old to have another litter, they're put down. The way that they're treated, the way that breeders treat their animals is horrific. The way that they'll usually put down their female dog once she can no longer provide another litter is either by shooting her or drowning her. To support these breeders who rarely use healthy food and keep their dogs isolated and locked up in unsanitary and unsafe conditions is wrong. No one should be allowed to use these innocent animals for commercial profit. From everything to the lack of veterinary care to the separation from newborn and mother too early on, the life of a puppy at a puppy mill is abusive and disheartening, to say the least. They endure a variety of the worst life has to offer, only to be most likely put in a shelter after the fact. I guess if nothing else is taken from this speech, let it be that buying dogs instead of rescuing them is only contributing to this cycle of abuse. In conclusion, most people believe that they're doing what is best for their dog when they give it up to a shelter, and that's rarely true. Animal shelters are almost always at their capacity due to more dogs being abandoned versus being adopted, and I find it extremely crucial that people stop buying dogs from breeders and puppy mills and start only rescuing them and adopting them from shelters once they're absolutely positive they're ready for a dog. The only solution to decreasing the number of dogs in shelters and the number of dogs euthanized is we need to stop shopping for dogs, and from here on out, let's begin adopting them. Thank you.